From soul-crushing lines being forced into existence, to CGI set pieces being enough to break the heart of Hollywood's finest. These are those precise moments actors felt their souls leave their bodies. Gareth here from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 exact moments actors died inside. Number 10. Daisy Ridley's first day in Star Wars makes her want to die. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. You can only imagine the sheer amount of anxiety and pressure Star Wars newcomer Daisy Ridley was nursing as she set foot on the set of The Force Awakens for the very first time. But far from easing his new leading lady's nerves early on, with Ridley even confessing to finding it tough to adjust to the reality of someone simply being on hand to hold an umbrella over her in between takes, J.J. Abrams brought down the hammer from the get-go. As the Rey star would explain to Glamour, the director confessed to his actor that he felt her acting was pretty wooden during her first day in the galaxy far, far away. And sure enough, when faced with this rather harsh critique on day 1, the performer admitted, "I honestly wanted to die, I thought I was gonna cry, I couldn't breathe." Luckily, the thespian managed to turn things around in the end, producing a star-making turn in her episode 7 bow. But Daisy definitely got off to a rocky start within the Skywalker saga. Number 9. Jay Baruchel was genuinely having a roller coaster meltdown. Knocked up. Roller coasters aren't exactly everyone's cup of tea, but there's not been a big fan of twirling and speeding around up high while strapped into a mechanical thrill ride. And then there's having a crippling fear of the contraptions that can lead to a genuine panic attack when forced onto a coaster. Knocked up actor Jay Baruchel unfortunately takes up a place in the latter camp. Yet that still didn't stop director Judd Apatow from shoving the comedy thespian into a real-life coaster for the purposes of a throwaway scene at the start of his 2007 rom-com. Making matters worse, Apatow initially assured his actor he wouldn't be needed for the coaster sequence, only to cruelly change his mind on the day of the shoot itself. So when taking in the sight of Baruchel's Jay squirming and squealing throughout the film's opening coaster scene, said panic and the repeated lines of "I gotta get off, I gotta get off, I gotta get off" are the result of a genuinely terrified actor wanting to be free from his own personal hell. Number 8. Mark Ruffalo did not want to dance. 13 going on 30. He may be without a doubt one of the most diverse and consistently compelling thespians his generation has to offer, but there are still some particular acts that even the great Mark Ruffalo struggles to commit to on screen. In fact, when it came to one specific sequence in much-loved fantasy rom-com 13 going on 30, the eventual Bruce Banner was so uncomfortable during the shoot that he almost walked out on the movie entirely, as revealed by the actor himself to Fox 5's Kevin McCarthy, after it taking him 6 hours to learn the film's famous thriller dance routine that he claimed co-star Jennifer Garner nailed in 6 minutes. She had to drag me onto the dance floor. On top of this, the Oscar-nominated star would also admit, whatever Matty was experiencing in that was actually just me, I almost quit the movie. And while the moves cut on the dance floor are fondly remembered by the majority of folks who hold the 2004 flick dear, Ruffalo's discomfort is as clear in the scene itself as it is whenever he's nudged on the topic of his less than thrilled involvement in the routine today. Number 7. Rupert Grint can't look back on his Hermione kissing scene. The Deathly Hallows Part 2. The reality of having to get a tad intimate with a castmate Rupert Grint confessed to having a brother-sister relationship with was a tough one to get to grips with by the time the Deathly Hallows Part 2 came around. So much so that the Ron Weasley actor even went on record to admit to people, "I never look back at that scene." After struggling on a number of occasions to keep a straight face in the lead up to and during the eventual smooch within the Chamber of Secrets late in the day, the pair were actually able to keep it together long enough to nail a take. But as the Potter star would add, after also confessing to the whole awkward scenario being a very surreal task, one take was enough. It was such a huge moment and there was so much expectation. Quite a lot of pressure actually. Emma Watson didn't seem to be in any rush to repeat the experience either, explaining during the Harry Potter 20th anniversary Return to Hogwarts special, "Kissing Rupert was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. It just felt wrong, so wrong on every level because Dan, Rupe and I are so much siblings." Number 6. Idris Elba was heartbroken by a spaceship jump. Thor: The Dark World. While the average actor would likely do just about anything for a chance to wiggle onto an MCU set, Idris Elba was entirely over the sight of green screens and harnesses back during the making of Thor: The Dark World. One scene in particular ripped his heart out in the wake of being forced to return to the MCU for reshoots, after rapping on Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. As Elba would explain to The Telegraph, the sequence involving his Heimdall falling down from a spaceship was enough to leave the Brit feeling wholly disheartened. As he put it, so they had to put me in a harness in this green screen studio, and in between takes I was stuck there. Fake hair stuck onto my head with glue, this effing helmet while they reset. And I'm thinking 24 hours ago I was Mandela. Then there I was in this stupid harness with this wig and this sword and these contact lenses. It ripped my heart out. The actor cut a rather disinterested figure for much of his time in the Thor sphere in the wake of his initial showing in Kenneth Branagh's 2011 entry. But it was this specific spaceship dismounting shot that left the sourest taste in Elba's godly mouth. Number 5. Christian Bale didn't want to be anywhere near a musical. Newsies. He may have slightly softened on the subject over the decades, but Christian Bale initially was in no mood at all to strut his stuff and warble his way through Disney's Newsies back in the day. That's mostly because he wasn't aware that the flick was set to be a musical in the first place, with the eventual Batman icon quickly setting about trying to convince director Kenny Ortega to let him sit in a pub whilst the elaborate dance routines were being shot, as soon as it became clear what he'd gotten himself in for. In the Jack Kelly actor's words, "I hoped I could be the lead in a musical without doing any singing and dancing." And despite Bale eventually declaring F it to the whole uncomfortable situation, it's evident the star wanted to be elsewhere throughout shooting the likes of his Santa Fe solo. Number 4. Pelican costume David Cross is less than impressed. Alvin and the Chipmunks chipwrecked. You'd have been forgiven for assuming that Alvin and the Chipmunks actor David Cross had a whale of a time rocking up on set, cracking a few one-liners and then watching the dollars roll in. However, as revealed by the Ian Hawke star himself later down the road to Conan O'Brien, his third and final showing alongside the titular furballs was actually, literally without question, the most unpleasant experience I've ever had in my professional life. Going further, Cross would add that he was forced at legal gunpoint to wander around a carnival cruise in his character's Pelican costume, with Ian acting as the ship's safety monitor during the threequel. And the actor's all-round lack of enthusiasm over being shoved into this chipwreck of a flick was both clear in his lifeless final portrayal of Hawke and Cross's parting shot at the franchise of "there was no reason for me to be there." Ah well, at least he got paid. Number 3. Arnie fights a fake bear, Hercules in New York. Cementing himself as one of the most iconic action superstars ever to grace the planet's surface, on the back of battling it out with alien predators and throwing down with Terminators, there is actually one particular big screen showdown that Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't look back on too fondly. In what was the star's first ever big screen appearance, the hulking future icon was tasked with taking down a formidable foe during the shooting of Hercules in New York. Yet instead of having the actor credited as Arnold Strong come to blows with a genuine grizzly bear, the cheap nature of the $300,000 shoot paved the way for a rather embarrassing alternative. As an understandably cringing Arnie, who classes the project as just so stupid, would admit years later, "In one scene it's me wrestling a bear, and you could tell the bear in Central Park was not a bear. It was a guy with this coat thrown over him." From his hilarious alternative moniker to throwing down with a bloke in a bear suit in the middle of a public park, it's not difficult to understand why the Hollywood legend has confessed to feeling a touch stupid during his first splash in the industry. Number 2. Ewan McGregor can't keep a straight face. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Despite being forced to do some serious verbal heavy lifting in the part of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor regularly found a way to unleash said terrible pieces of prequel text without leaving fans instantly burying their heads into their popcorn, which is quite a feat. Well, for the most part that is, because on one rather infamous occasion during the last entry in the prequel trilogy, the Scottish sensation appeared to finally give in to the absolute absurdity of the script he'd been handed in the making of Revenge of the Sith. As Kenobi is forced to reveal to Padme Amidala that her beloved had been spotted killing younglings on a security hologram, McGregor can be seen trying to hold back some justifiable laughter at the rather surreal line. And in a bid to mask his inevitable smirk at the jarring material, the actor opts to cover his mouth for dramatic effect. Sure, a vicious former Jedi picking off younglings isn't exactly a jolly turn of events, but you can hardly blame McGregor for finally cracking after 3 films worth of soulless verbiage. Number 1. Ray Fisher is forced to booyah, Justice League. While it is admittedly tough to land on just one moment from Joss Whedon's version of the DCEU's ill-fated Justice League live-action team-up that stuck out for all the wrong reasons, Ray Fisher's utterance of "booyah" is definitely up there for most let-down superfans. Despite expressing his doubts over whether having the hero utter the catchphrase that had become a touch popular during the Teen Titans animated show would work in a live-action setting though, and stating how it seemed weird to have the only black character say that, Fisher found himself being reluctantly talked into performing a single take of the jarring line by Whedon and some higher-ups. The actor was under no illusions that if he performed the line, it would end up in the finished movie. And after powering off Whedon's mocking greeting of "Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you on the day," a not-in-the-mood Fisher vacated the area post one take of booya, with his undeniable frustration at being made to speak said speech against his will immortalized in the lackluster final article.